In my room, there's a small door leading to where the air conditioning unit is housed. This door has no locking mechanism whatsoever, so it wasn't uncommon for it to open up by itself when swindled by a draft. It is impossible to close the door behind you once you get beyond it and enter the crawlspace type area that it leads to. I have lived in this house for 5 years now, and for the first 4 I never gave the door a second thought. It was not until the 5th year until the door started making me feel unsettled. A few months ago I was home alone. I am 17 and I live in a bonus room, which is why it is connected to the crawlspace. I'd been upstairs playing on my PlayStation when the house phone rang. Normally I would answer the one I had upstairs, but I'd unplugged the charger and it died. I sprinted down the stairs in order to answer the phone. My 2 dogs were up there with me at my heels. I picked up the phone. 1-800-service, of course. I let the dogs out back. I remember vaguely what happened. I opened the door, 3 beeps from the alarm system notified me, and then I closed it. Before going back upstairs, I went to the bathroom. While peeing, I heard the 3 beeps notifying me that the door had been opened. I didn't give it a second thought because I assumed my parents had just gotten home. Except I didn't hear their footsteps and there were no voices. I got out of the bathroom and I checked all 3 doors. The front was locked, the garage was locked, and the back door was unlocked, but my dogs, a husky and German shepherd, wouldn't have let a stranger near them without attacking them. I let them both in and locked the door. Maybe I just imagined it. I did have a pretty vivid imagination, and I do get a little paranoid when I'm home alone, so it isn't out of the question. Hell, maybe I didn't close the back door all the way. Who knows? What I do know is that all the doors were locked or guarded by dogs when my parents left. Probably. It wasn't long after that when I would wake up in the morning and the door would be wide open. Sure, it did that once or twice over my living here so I could rationalize it, but I was still a bit creeped out. But recently it's been open in the morning at least once a week. So I told my parents and they went out and got a latch for the door to keep it closed. This was such a relief. For about 3 weeks the door was never opened. Then one day I came home from school and the latch was lying on the ground next to the open door. That's around the time I started sleeping with a knife at my bedside. I put the latch on over and over, but every time I left for more than a few hours, it would have fallen off. I was worried, and I didn't try and hide it from my parents. I told them time and time again the door was still opening. They blamed it on the cheap latch and told me I should really get over it. I was almost 18 and would have to get over my fear of the dark eventually. Except it wasn't the darkness I was afraid of. I was afraid of whoever was living in the crawlspace. One day I went downstairs for breakfast, and my parents just both stared at me solemnly. I asked what was wrong, if I had something in my teeth, and they just kept looking at me, as if I had done something to be ashamed of. "We heard you last night," my father said sternly. "Heard me doing what? Snoring?" "I'm sorry, it's just I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping late." "No, not snoring. We heard you rummaging through the kitchen last night. Didn't we tell you that that's bad for your digestion? It didn't help that you were slamming cabinets at 3 in the morning, waking everyone up. If you were hungry tonight, just eat more dinner. You know we have plenty of food, so you don't have to starve yourself," he finished. "Dad, I didn't get up last night. I hadn't. I think I would remember if I had." "Oh, really? It wasn't you?" he said sarcastically, like I was trying to fool him. But I wasn't. "Yeah, Dad, it wasn't me." "Don't lie to me." "I'm not, I swear. Maybe you were sleepwalking. It sounded just like the way you walk whenever you go to the bathroom at night. And I could have sworn I heard your door open." "Dad, I haven't slept walk in years. You know that." That's when the reality of the situation hit me. "Well, you're the only one who likes cherry coke, so unless it was the damn ghost in the crawlspace, I don't know who it could have been," he said, then checking his phone. "Shit. I'm gonna be late. Love you, son. Stop starving yourself." He then walked out of the door, closing it behind him. 3 beeps. I didn't sleep much after that. Most nights I would have the TV on and just look at the door, latch locked and all. I still had school, so the latest I would stay up with a good conscience was usually 4. Not like I stayed up later the next day, I would want to kill myself. But even then I would sleep for 2 hours, and when I woke up the door would be open, latch lying on the ground beside it. Eventually the door would be open every morning. I decided it could no longer be a coincidence and I had to do something about it. The night came when 4 a.m. came around and I turned off my TV and I laid there, waiting. About 30 minutes later the first push came. Slow but strong. Then another push, then another. On the 4th most powerful push, the latch fell to the ground and the door was slowly opened. I waited, eyes squinted to mimic the look of sleep. His head poked out. Whoever it was in there may have been human, but I doubt it. The lights were off, so I can't be sure, but once the door was completely open, it made its way out head first, using his arms to drag him through the opening. Once he pulled his entire body out, I could see the silhouette of what seemed to be a thin, hairless man. He lunged towards me once, propelling himself with his forearms. I could hear my heart beating, and I knew it could hear it too. My breaths got louder and deeper, and I almost started weeping. His hairless head turned slowly towards me. I could feel its glare burning through my skull, taking quick, silent lunges towards me. I heard it make its way over to where I slept. I dared not open my eyes, but I could hear it sniffing the air. I sensed its presence directly beside me, level with my face. My heart beat faster and my breaths got louder. That's when it got closer, facing the side of my face, breathing directly into my face. My eyes were still closed, but I heard him opening his mouth and close it, clacking his teeth together. Soon he turned around and crawled on all fours back into the crawlspace. I heard creaks and creaks as it made itself at home in the crevices of our walls. Just when I thought it was safe to open my eyes, just slightly, I heard it rise from within the crawlspace. The pitter-patter of his hands and feet against the wooden floor. I shut my eyelids as tightly as I could. It made its way back to the still open door, and something fell. It turned back and made its way back into its home in the crevice. I didn't sleep the rest of the night, and when morning came I didn't get out. "Alexander!" my father screamed. "If you don't get out of bed right now, you're going to be late. Get up, now." "Sorry, I just had this really bad nightmare. I'll be up in a second." "I have to go," he said. Door closed, 3 beeps. I walked over to the crawlspace door to close it. I looked down and next to the lock was an empty cherry Coke can. I need to get out of this house soon.